everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the iConis podcast. And oh my gosh, do we got something great for you today. As you know, is our boy, Larry Reclazato. He is here. He is fabulous and he's ready. And I love it because he's cosplayed and it fits the theme for this episode. Before we get down to it, as you know, I'm one of your hosts, Barry 3D Carter. On my side is a man, the myth, the legend, the one that's not through dancing and rolling at skating all night long, the one and only
DJ Rod C. Good day, good afternoon, and good morning to you all. Oh, we got a show for you. We got a show for you.
Absolutely. We're going to run through the round table real quick. So remember, if you got to buy your books, you got to check out Wild Comics out in Kitchener. You got to check out A Hero's Tale out in Cambridge, or you check out Check Swings in Montreal. If you two want to do a podcast, you check out the podcast like we have on Podbean. So ours is iconis.podbean.com. That's where you'll find us. And keep in mind, if you need any graphic work done for a podcast, you can reach out to the one and only
J Bird Digital Art.
Absolutely. Jay Bird Digital Arts. You tell him that you heard about him on the iConis podcast. He'll give you a discount on any work you need to have done, and that's worldwide. Okay. And of course, I roll with the guys. If you want to find where I'm doing comedy myself or with a touch of gray matter, that's with Self Ali and Dave Sokolowski. Check out my website, larry3d.com. Rod, real quick, where can we find you?
Listen, you always can find me on Instagram, World Wide Web. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Rod C. You can find me on TikTok at DJ Rod C1. DJ Rod C1. Let's go.
All right. So on today, before we even get into it, Larry Reclazato, you people have seen him before. You've seen him on the show. Thank you once again for joining us, Larry. Please let the fans know where they could find you.
Facebook, look for Forgotten, Obscure, and Underrated Comic Characters. That's our page. We got some great admins. Barry's one of them. And no politics. Just make sure you agree to the rules. Come join us and learn about everybody.
Right. And follow the rules. Follow the rules. Because I've seen stuff, and I mean, the other admins are topping it. Follow the rules, because if not, you're going to ruin the fun for yourself and other people. So that will get stopped right away. Okay. Now, usually when we ask Larry comes up with some doozies. And as you can see how Larry's dressed. Larry, you can pick off the name of the show. What's the name of this episode today?
The Hat and Tie Brigade, Part 1.
The Hat and Tie Brigade, Part 1. We asked Larry, what do you want to talk about? And Larry turned around and goes, I got you. And then Larry gave us a list. And I shared the list with Rod, and Rod was like, oh, snap. And I'm like, we got a lot to cover. And we're going to cover only part of it in this episode. So this means you got to hold on. It's like a continuation. It's like to be continued. It's like X-Men 97. You got to watch or listen to the next one. So remember, like, subscribe, and share. Never miss the notifications on that. Let's take this away. Larry, on the Hat and Tie Brigade, and I see the way you're dressed. You are set for the 50s, sir, and the 40s. Who are we starting to talk off on the Hat and Tie Brigade? What's this all about?
Well, there have been a lot of characters from the pulps all the way through into modern day comics, and even some of the serials that they had back in the 30s and 40s. Today, we're just going to focus on some of the first guys to be in the comics. All right, started in the comics, and that's where they've pretty much been. So I want to start with the first one to show up, considered the first masked hero, the Clock. 1936. So this guy predates Superman, guys. Basically, looked a little bit like this, only instead of this type of mask, you guys have seen Grifter with the flag thing in front of his face.
Right, yes.
All right, in black.
Okay, got it. So like just like Grifter from Wildcats, right? Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So that's the way the Clock looked. Now, started out, all we knew is this guy was a DA and didn't know much about him. He gets more background as you go. Had some tricks up his sleeve, like a diamond-studded cane. The cane part, the stud would pop off and have a rope in it and such. Had a tie clip that shot out tear gas, kind of like Sandman. His gas gun, and so forth. He didn't last a long time, a couple of years at most. Of course, that's when comic companies they skip guys around their titles, and this was a lesser known title. Um, and but then we learn later that he's actually inherited a lot of money. His name's Brian O'Brien.
I know, Brian.
Yeah,
Keep it simple.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. I think Stan Lee has the alliteration thing. I think somebody had it worse. Anyway, but he lasted a while. He really started the masked pulp fighter for comics.
Right. Ooh, that's amazing. Because I'm just looking at the notes right now. So I see that, okay, he was created by cartoonist George Brenner, and the clock first appeared in Comic Magazine Company. Okay, so it's Funny Picture Stories, #1 in November of 1963. Right? And he, it was in issue #1, and then in issue #6. So he's gone on for a little while, and I I can't even tell like where he's got a lot of elements I think that have been kidnapped for today's
Yes.
like the cane with the rope, and that sounds Daredevil to me. You know what I mean? The mask, okay,
Right.
Grifter, right, from Wildcat. He inherited a lot of money. He's Bruce Wayne before Bruce Wayne.
100%.
You could say the same about the Shadow because they kind of all started at the same time there.
Right. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you see that some things always, regardless of if it's 1936 or 2024, they still have those same
Similarities.
commonalities. Yeah, similarities through them.
Yep.
So what brought you to this particular character? What was the appeal for you for the clock?
Well, I had actually been reading like a lot of The Question.
Okay, right.
And some of the other guys were a little older, like the Crimson Avenger, which we'll get into in a little bit, that started out as, well, like I said, the Hat and Tie Brigade. Even though the Crimson Avenger went on to a costume outfit later. But and I was like, well, you know what? I want to go back and start reading about what inspired the spirit and so forth. And that took me all the way back to the pulps, which we will get into later because that's one of the sections, probably part 2.
Yeah.
But as far as part 1, I wanted to focus in on some of the comic characters.
Wow, and that's amazing because like right now I'm looking at one of the covers here for Crack Comics, right, where he's like the main story in there, and then you see on the panel that has like 4 other stories that are in the book, right, on Crack Comics, and on the cover, the top one that really catches my eye is Black Condor, and Black Condor was part of the Freedom Fighters.
Yep.
But this is before he was part of the Freedom Fighters.
Yeah. Before he was a quality character.
Okay. So this is he comes around. So he's got some money. He's right. So and I'll be reading just real quick. Okay, so he's a hypnotist with a secret underground lair. His minimalist costume is a master of disguise with a 3-piece suit and mask. The clock used a number of gadgets, including a cane whose head becomes projectile diamond studded, which fires gas. Right now, why the name the clock? That's what The, he's changed fedora and mask. This is hilarious. So why the clock? I mean, I understand. Let's say, for example, Batman. Why Batman? Right? A bat through the window. He was like, cowardly, superstitious. Why Batman? I understand. Spider-Man. That's how he got his powers. Why is the clock though? Why do you use that name?
Well, that actually, if you get to his calling card, literally a calling card, it actually says on it, calling card with a clock face and the clock has struck written on it.
So
the clock has struck.
I was about to say, so you already got a calling card, and he has the ability to finish off, like the one-liners. Clock has struck. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once again, now this goes back like Spider-Man, where Spider-Man would leave a note saying, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he would stick it onto the webs and then take off. The clock has struck. So his origin, that's now my up question.
What's
his origin? Like, okay, like As I
They
said,
never get into it.
they never get into it.
They never really get into it.
Oh, I
And
love it
any
when
of the
they
ones I've read,
right.
they have never really got into it. He's shown up in um, the Protectors from Malibu Comics at one point,
Right.
and he's shown up in the Masks miniseries from Dynamite, but no one's ever really got into how he became the Clock.
Hmm.
He started out. Uh, all we know is that basically he was a disillusioned DA
Okay.
at one point in his life. And of course, he did have a couple of sidekicks.
That makes sense. But see, now
Yeah.
this is stuff I like. I know
Mhm.
sometimes some people might look at it and say, well, if you don't give them an origin, you just throw them in there, you're losing some substance, you're losing maybe a way to develop the character. But when they don't have an origin, I mean, look, Wolverine didn't have an origin for how many years, and then they try
True.
to tackle that after, right? And he's still a popular character. I like characters that don't have an origin because that to me is carte blanche. That book is open and you can write something that's intriguing now. Just because he didn't have an origin then doesn't mean he can have an origin now. And so
Right.
he's, as you put it, he's a disillusioned VA. So that being said, oh my gosh. See,
Mhm.
like I'm just hearing it from how you're explaining it to me, and it's just because I'm a huge fan of Law and Order. I would like to see something like that fleshed out that way.
Mm.
That's how I would picture the character. I mean, he's still a DA. He didn't quit. He's just disillusioned. He doesn't like how the process is going, and he's kind of taking justice in his own hand. But
Right.
have more of a factual, you know, what's his name, Michael Wolf or whatever. Yeah, just to have that law aspect, and then add it as like that superhero pulp hero, you know, noir feel to it.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. That
Yep.
would be interesting. That's my first impression. I'm just like running off the cuff here out of my mind. What do you guys think about that? Or what's your take on it? How would you maybe like to see that kind of play out? I like this. The clock.
Well, if I'm going to do, I've actually wrote a script, spec script for a company up in Bethesda that's looking for properties. We'll see if they buy it or not. But thanks. But I want to keep it in the 30s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, play it as the DA gets disillusioned, decides, okay, I'm gonna go out and have to like get proof to beyond a shadow of a doubt to get these guys put away, type thing. Most of the guys he fought were either gangsters, Nazis, or once in a while mad scientists. So, yeah, exactly. But in 1930s, we've got a lot of different crime that he could be dealing with.
Right.
And we could have a little bit of fun there and see where it goes. I kind of there was a show back in the 70s that when Wayne Rogers left MASH, and it was called City of
Right.
Angels,
Yes.
set in LA in the 30s.
Yes.
That's kind of the feel I want.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Great.
Yeah.
I remember that show.
And to be honest, the person I'd really love to cast in, if I'm going to fan cast,
Yeah.
is actually just on Law and Order right now. He's playing the new DA. Belko Experiment,
Right.
where he was kind of the snobbish bad guy who decided actually to kill people instead of trying to get away. In that movie. And I think his last name's Goldwyn, as in Metro Goldwyn.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm looking because now I'm
We'll
curious.
find it. Yeah, we'll find it. We're good at that.
See, yeah, it definitely has to take place. Like I don't want to bring like any of these pulp heroes. That's their whole appeal. Is the 30s?
Right.
Is their timepiece they were created in? That's my feel. We don't have to make everyone from the past come to the future. I think it's nice to kind of romanticize that period of time. This is why I like movies, like I said, like you mentioned, The Shadow. This is why I was a huge fan of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Great movie.
Right? Right? Like, and we talked about it, and that there was so well done how it fits that world that I think now going back, let's get away from the cell phones, let's get away from all that modern technology and say, hey, how did things used to be? And it adds it, you know. And then and the thing with Sky Captain is they didn't do it in full color. They filmed it, they filmed it in a way that was like kind of sepia,
Yeah,
and they added
exactly.
more to the romance,
more texture to the whole storyline. Yeah, adding more texture to the storyline.
Absolutely.
I will say I'll definitely back. I'll agree with you guys on that. That for me, and I'll agree with you, Barry. Probably any bit that we're going to be talking about, try to keep it in their time period, because up to, and I was trying to rack my brain trying to remember who, because I knew there was one recently, and it most likely must be Sky Captain. But prior to that, there really hasn't been any, to my recollection, and please forgive me, and if there is, please put it down in the chat, let us know. But any type of movie that was back then, like a 1930, done now. None that recent. So Sky Captain to me might have been the most recent 1930-ish adaptation one.
I think The Spirit.
But The Spirit is further back.
No.
It's just how live action, how they did it. It was popping too much like Sin City, right? Like right.
But I guess But wasn't that before that? But wasn't that before Sky Captain?
No, Sky Captain, I believe, was a couple of years before.
Yeah, Sky Captain was first. Yeah.
Sky was it? Okay, my bad. I actually thought it was literally the reverse. I thought it was the reverse.
Yep.
So,
right.
But what I liked about those two, making up The Spirit as well, is that the dialogue was very proper to the time. Because back, over 20 years ago when you had older pieces, the dialogue was very spotty. It just seemed very. I want to have a storyline that you can really feel that the conversation is so real. Although what's happening at that time, they're just talking and you can feel this is the 30s. This is the feel of it. This is the dialogue. This is the way that people are talking. And I want that, because you don't have that you rarely have it anymore. See, we're kind of like not struggling, but we're
I want to see the newsreels. I want to see the radio talking about Europe.
Right. But you having the actual conversation, and it's like you feel like you are literally there. The closest thing, next thing I would say is that when it was Captain America, the First Avenger.
Let's go a bit deeper.
Just Peggy Carter. When she had Peggy Carter, her show and everything like that, just the dialogue was very fluid, and it just felt, although it's a timepiece per se, but the dialogue and everything was so smooth, it was so fluent. It just if I was caught in a time warp and I got pulled back in that time, up to then I would have thought back in the 30s they're just talking so hard and gruff and whatever the case to be. No, they just nice and like it made sense. It just felt like this was the time period properly.
And I love the clothes back then. I love the zoot suits and the shoulders and the high waisted pants and the suspenders and all that. So it has a whole look to it. It has a whole feel. And it's funny because if you look at movie studios, right, or TV studios, they still have those lots set up there, and people go for tours on there to see those old sets they use for like Captain America and Peggy Carter and so forth.
Right.
And now they're just sitting there. Now let's kind of get back to it. Let's not make it just a one episode. Do a whole series and film it that way. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm with that. Okay, so Larry, you got the clock, right? Got it.
And Tony Goldwyn. That's
Tony Goldwyn. Okay, Tony Goldwyn. All right, then. So I'm going to look him up. Tony Goldwyn is who you would have play the clock back then. Okay. Yep. All right. I see where you're going. Yep.
Well, speaking of which, you and I picked the same guy who could play Tiny and Gatchaman Barry.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. But away from that,
let's get to our next guy. Started. Yes, who's the next one we got going, Larry?
We're going to Smash Comics from Quality. So now he's owned by DC.
Right.
But originally it was an independent thing. And his name is Midnight. Now this guy's a radio host. he's actually a radio character, and his character is basically this kind of guy, guy who fights crime in his businesses and so on. And then he finds out that a building collapses and somebody he cared about was in there and such. And he decides to take his radio persona to the street.
Okay.
Okay.
I see it here.
And
Wow.
he was one of the original guys to wear the domino mask.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, because I'm looking at it right now and he's very similar. I mean, drawn wise, the color scheme and all that, quick glance. People might confuse it for the spirit for half a second, right? But the radio
Yeah.
personality, now, once again, it's one of my other favorite characters I like. It's giving me the vibes of the Creeper, right? Jack Ryder, the
Okay.
Creeper, right?
Yeah.
He's a radio personality, and regardless of how he changes into the Creeper, I mean, everyone has different ways how he does about it. He hits a watch and he changes into Creeper, be it if it's the animated version from Batman the Animated Series, his original comic book appearances. Jack Ryder was a reporter, had his own show. Sometimes it made him normal, sometimes it made him more of a little bit of a abrasive. Let's just say that.
Hmm.
Why? So he's got his radio show. He suffered through a tragedy, and he's taking this to the streets. So not only can he himself, report on the news, he's making news.
Right.
And he's hearing in the news how to fight, which goes back to that common trope of where does Peter Parker work? A newspaper. Where does Superman work? Right? Where does Clark Kent work? A newspaper. Because the newspaper was the hub of information. Right?
Yep.
This before Google, cell phones, quarters in the field, everything information wise, good and bad, got funneled through the newspaper, and that was the outlet for people prior to radio to a certain degree. It was a hot commodity. Wow.
Right.
Okay. Woo. I like this. I like this. And now owned by DC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Because DC bought Quality Comics, and
that's part of the roster. They don't create, they appropriate.
anymore. Unfortunately for Malibu.
Yeah. So, so I'm looking at this now. So the art, even though is it with writer artist Will Eisner, retaining the rights for mass detective quality. Okay, the spirit. Okay, so quality. I'm just really looking at it. So his name is
Midnight was a character because Eisner was going to war, and people wanted to see if they couldn't use Midnight because Eisner wasn't there. I mean, use the spirit. So they pretty much created Midnight.
Got it.
Gave him a different name, a different look. And
right.
Dave Clark, wasn't that like a band back in the 60s, Dave Clark 5? But yeah. So that's where it goes.
I love it. Yep, and it fits the DC moniker, right? It's like, where's he residing? Big city.
Yeah, now of course DC has changed the character a couple of times. So all right, I've gone through the red, gold, and green.
I love that you're swapping colors. So
get the Karma Chameleon reference now.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, Dave Clark.
Blowing my mind.
They've had a couple other characters. People take up the mantle of Midnight. None of them did as good as the original, to be honest. But hey, it's DC. They swapping characters all the time to take over. I mean, what are we on our 6th Robin now?
And counting.
And counting.
Right. Oh, geez. Okay, so this is who. So Dave Clark. I see it. So Will Eisner was doing the spirit. I just want to get this straight. He goes to war. Comic book company says, and they make someone similar because they can't use the name the spirit, and this is where they come up with Midnight.
Yep.
And okay, once again, lack of knowledge. Did the spirit and Midnight ever meet when Will Eisner came back? Did they ever crisscross? Oh,
Two different
what are
companies by then.
different companies? Okay, got it.
Gotcha.
Wow. And this
Okay.
character, yeah, I'm looking at this. Like January of 1941, Smash Comics number 18 was his first appearance.
Yep.
And even the cover, like this is like the cover they're showing here, right? It's like, it was one in June of 1940, sorry, issue number 43. And he's like punching some guys over a giant mask. And it's like, yeah. They're like, hey, wait, Midnight, I'm Lady Luck. I'm in this issue too.
Yep. You
Beautiful,
will
beautiful.
see. You will when you go into the things that you see on my page, when these characters that I look up, you will
Right.
see a lot of stuff that Project Superpowers pulled out,
Yeah.
like Lady Luck.
I'm noticing that. And they had the right feel, I think, of bringing back some of these characters. So, and I said he was created by writer-artist Jack Cole, Quality Comics in the 1930s, 1940 period, known as the Golden Age of comic books. Okay, so we got that. So who did he end up fighting? I mean, we got his origin, tragedy, radio announcer, took it to the street. Did he have a normal rogues gallery, or was he just dealing with the crime that was out there in general?
And it was pretty much basically criminal, just general criminals,
Okay, all right,
gangster type guys
right,
for that period, for the 40s. He did get into a little bit of Nazi saboteur because
right.
it's the 40s. Everybody's
Right.
40s.
dealing with
Yeah.
Nazi
Okay.
saboteurs.
Easy.
But yeah, that's pretty much where Midnight. Um, they've kept him pretty much street level on the little bit of DC that he's shown up in. But it seems that they ignore him, like a lot of other characters, in favor of characters like the Question, which is very much similar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In the, but but it's a good character. It's just another guy who wants to go out and do some good with his boxing skills and so forth, and just protecting his own little area.
So
Okay.
now is this a character? Is this another character? We got the first one. Is this another character would you like to see come back? Or you want to see a storyline written for him?
I would love to see some storylines written for him. Um, I don't know if I bring him all the way up to date, but I might bring him into the 50s.
All right. Would you want to do a continuation of his story? Like, okay, so you're saying the 50s. If he came out in the 40s, for example, right? Do you want to write it? Would you want to see that storyline continue him in the 50s? So he's maybe a little bit older. He
You'd
thought,
bring him into like doing, a little bit older, bring him into doing like move him from a radio host reporter to a TV reporter
hmm,
at the beginning of the game
Okay.
that's your
and
progression.
getting into that kind of stuff. Um, keep him still grounded with gangsters and so on, but I'd move him to something like I don't know, Chicago, New York, one of the ones where you have the criminal
Nostra.
organizations just getting Cosa Nostra'd, let's
Mhm.
say.
Yeah. I like the Chicago idea because there's a lot of, and the only reason I'm saying Chicago over New York is New York has a lot of heroes and villains in it already.
Right.
Chicago, we don't hear too much about. So Chicago would be a nice, different, a more open background, in my opinion.
Right.
And I'd probably give
Yeah.
it to somebody like, um, oh, who wrote Jack Knight? Robinson? Starman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Give it to
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes. That would
If
be
I
nice.
was an editor, I'd ask Robinson to write that.
See, and that's a whole thing, like how we're doing this show. That would be a great, yeah, that'd be a great homage to see what happened, what's caused it to change, good or bad, be it technology, because the
Mhm.
difference is in the 40s and the 50s. Where's this character at? What's his mind frame at? And then what's his goal? I mean, you can't make him, in that time, he's got to probably really settle down. Did he have a family, and how does that impact or someone there? So once again, lots of possibilities. All right. So who's the next one you got here for us, Larry?
So now we're going to go to what's considered DC's first masked superhero. Crimson Avenger.
Name is so cool. Like, come on now. Crimson Avenger. Like, you just want to scream the name when you run into a fight. You
Yeah, I
know,
know.
forget Avenger as a symbol. It's like Crimson Avenger.
All right.
Okay.
So for
Or
those
body
of you who
count.
don't know, let's
Get it.
go through the history a bit. Crimson Avenger had Lee Travis, rich socialite, goes to a costume party with his driver, who's, I believe, Chinese. And the party gets attacked by some thugs who want to basically rob everybody. Well, Lee's gone in the costume, more or less. It's basically the suit and tie, a red cape, and a mask. And a couple of guns. That's it. This is how he starts. Great character. Lasts that way for a good year or two, I believe. And his driver becomes a sidekick. So, does this remind us of a radio character?
Exactly.
Green Hornet.
Yeah, that's it. Another suit and tie brigade, and hat and tie brigade. Anyway, so he decides to fight crime, and so we got that. Then we start getting near World War II, and they decide to put him in costumes. Everybody's gotten a costume. No more suit and ties. So we put the Crimson Avenger in this red outfit with this weird bump mohawk on it. Put his a black sun on the chest, and he joins the Justice Society. Also, he joins the Seven Soldiers of Victory.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Along with his sidekick, chauffeur, who's never officially a member, but is always in all the Avengers, and that's Wing, who has basically a yellow outfit that looks exactly like the Crimson Avengers, which is red. So, and that's where we go from there.
So I know, so I'm seeing here real quick. I'm just looking at the cliff notes of it, so to speak. So the first appearance was in Detective Comics issue number 20 in October of 1938. So Detective Comics was not always about Batman. It had other detective stories in there prior to him. It preceded Batman, and very, once again, I gotta have influences very similar to the Green Hornet, the Tie Brigade, as you aptly named it, Larry. This is what's going on, and it's an all-star squadron. Everything you said right there, this is amazing. And he said, Olympic level athlete, highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat, use of gas gun, master of martial arts and jiu-jitsu, expert to lock picking, expert to firearms, and brilliant to exquisition. I mean, okay, he was a horse rider. Okay, got it. So I'm picturing, and come on, the Crimson Avenger. Like, you know what? I see the Crimson Avenger, and of course, I'm a very wacky-minded person. And then I see certain things, and I'm seeing Daffy Duck out of the Scarlet Pumpernickel. But it's just so the name, it's so grand
out there.
Come on, you can't say who's there. It's a Crimson Avenger. It's like, no. The beginning of the show has to be the Crimson Avenger. He's got to come flying in on whatever it is, knock out a couple of people.
Very much a radio introduction name.
Yes. And that's the thing. You have to have something like a radio introduction if you're going to keep the time period. That sets the tone and the mood right there. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
I would never take him out of that suit and tie, though. I would never put him in that spandex.
You can make a joke about the spandex, but never put him in the spandex. I think the magic of the character is the suit and tie, right? The hella hat, leave it with the original look. That's my take on it. The beauty of something like this, however you want to do it, is because he's part of the Seven Soldiers of Victory, because he's part of the Justice Society. You could bring in other characters that might not have ever seen screen time, be it big screen or small screen, just to crisscross, and you can have conversations with them. They don't have to be in fights. But if you're in the Justice Society headquarters, right, their townhouse. He can walk by and he can walk by a room and it's like, well, whose room is that? Oh, that's Labor and Liberty's room or Johnny Quitt's room or there's just Johnny Thunder. He left his pen here again, right? Like just little Easter eggs like that. I think would be fun for fans to spot out without having to worry about licensing of bringing those characters in.
Right.
Yeah. I would have to do it as a television show. Similar to the way they did Stargirl.
Okay.
Only setting back in the 30s.
Absolutely. And it's got that gray ghost feel from Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Right?
Our Flash, the Flash episode with the character that was a hero on TV.
Exactly.
If you remember the original Flash TV?
Yes.
With John Wesley Shipp? Yeah.
I have it on DVD. I know. Right? That's what we want. So that's how I would take it. I would take this, like you have the Gray Ghost, the Crimson Avenger, put those Avengers, like really that kind of feel to it. And the fact that he's going to walk by and see, the Star Spangled Kid's shirt or something like that, even if they don't put the characters in there, if you just show things for the characters, people are like, oh my gosh, I know that shirt. I recognize that sword.
I know what that means. I know what that
recognize
means.
the helmet. I know what that means.
Shiny Knight's lance in the corner.
Right? But that's the appeal to me there. Oh man, this is great. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you would do it as you said, a TV show. That's what you're looking for, Larry. Who would be your actor? I know this is all heavy on you, but who would be your Crimson Avenger if you had to pick somebody out? I'm sure you have someone in mind, or roughly.
Oh, that's not easy. Unfortunately, the person that I wanted was too old and he died recently. That was Julian Sands. But I don't know. I looked for somebody. I need somebody who's not quite in his mid-30s to be in the right age frame. I don't want to cast him too young because it needs to be like the socialite, especially when we bring in his cousin, Sandra Knight, also known as Phantom Lady.
Right. Once again, and that's another thing, they're freedom fighters.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd probably go with someone like Liam Neeson.
Okay. See?
Okay.
I like that. But here's
I have a certain set of skills. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Liam Neeson rocks. Who I would actually see, believe it or not, he's been in multiple TV shows, and I'm now gonna miss his name. Of course, that's what my memory does. He's been in movies, so he plays the voice of Krunk in Emperor's New Groove. He played the Tick.
Patrick.
Warburton.
Yes.
There we go. Yes. Give me him, but don't play it as comedy. Let him play it like I don't want comedy. I don't want a parody. Let him with his voice, the way he looks, how he carries himself. It'd be a little humor to it, which is nice.
Actually,
but I'm
going to modify a bit because I like Liam Neeson, but I want him to be the guy telling the story. He's my narrator, older guy.
Oh, okay.
Or he's the Crimson Avenger at the end of his time, recalling stories, recalling the adventures I've done.
Exactly. But I'm gonna put another Liam in my star role. Hemsworth.
Interesting.
Oh, Hemsworth's playing a younger Neeson.
Oh man. And the older Neeson just doing the voice. Wow.
You're just word playing people to. Oh my God, you're just word playing. We're just going with the Liams. Liam Square. That's what we're doing.
Liam Square.
You can have 3 Chris's on a Marvel movie and confuse everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show today. When I just come with the shots. If we could do 3 Chris's, we could do 2 Liams. Okay. Touche, sir.
Speaking of Marvel.
Touche.
Speaking of Marvel, all right. Here it is. We got one more. Huh? Yeah.
All right. I didn't run into this guy until the 12 from the Phantom Reporter.
Okay, you put me on that list, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm Phantom Reporter. I'm looking up this character right now.
Okay,
Hey!
I'll let you.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing. Wow.
Started with Atlas Comics.
Yo, he is looking like.
See, I'm going to tell you why Rod likes this character right now. Because
Well, we
Rod's
already know
favorite
that.
character, right? Rod's favorite color is purple.
Yeah, already.
Mine
I'm
too.
good with that. I'm
Mine
already
too.
good with that. But
Like,
I'm feeling like the Phantom Stranger.
It
yes,
looks a lot
yes, for
similar.
DC.
I'm having that feel right there. The texture's right there. I'm like, okay.
Yep. But again, we have a reporter, an
Yeah.
actual reporter.
Okay.
He's active in World War II. He decides he's going to go out and fight local crime. And now they updated him recently. They did this series called The 12, really good series.
Hmm.
Bringing a lot of Atlas characters that few people knew into the modern day. They went over to Europe. They got um, into a situation where they got some spin and animation, and they weren't
Oh,
woke up until the 2000s.
2008.
Yep. At which point the government's like, "Oh, well, you guys helped out. We're going to try to get you to fit in
Mhm.
and acclimated, and maybe you can work for us or do some stuff for us." Story goes back and forth, does some different things. Some people want to keep doing stuff, some people don't. One of the good guys turns out to be a bad guy, of course. Da 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 da. Um, but the Phantom Reporter didn't have any powers until the end of the 12, at which point he inherits a power from one of the other characters.
Oh,
So
Wow, I like that. The team affiliation is the 12 Daily Bugle. Okay, the 12 and the Daily Bugle. Okay, so he's on the Daily Bugle, so we know where
yeah,
this ties in. Um,
right.
that's amazing. So he made his first appearance in Daring Mystery Comics #3 in April of 1940. Of the
he's
Phantom
also been used
Reporter.
in pulps recently.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, geez. I like his name. So his name is, well, Dick Jones. Well, his real name is Richard, but short Dick Jones.
Yep.
You know, and he is an ex All-American fullback. You know, ex boxer, wrestler, fencing champ.
Yep.
And they said he actually has three identities as Van Egan, millionaire, and the Phantom Reporter. So yeah, he's Dick Jones reporter, Van Egan, millionaire, and Phantom Reporter, costume crime fighter. Oh my God. So he put on the mask to just kind of fight evil. So
Yeah.
once again, three identities, comes
Hmm.
around the Cape. Very early Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Ah,
kind
there you go. Yep. Very
of.
nice. Very nice.
Moon Knight had three characters. One was the soldier of fortune, and the other one was a millionaire, and the other one was a taxi driver. All
Yeah,
right,
so did
so
Batman.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Matches Malone. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
his other base known one was Matches Malone.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So once again, I like to see what these characters who were created by, the people at the time, and once again, to how these have interpreted. And even though some of them are now lesser known, the more known characters have a lot of their traits. And it's like, that can't be coincidence. I
Mhm.
refuse to believe that's coincidence. I believe someone saw that and went, good idea. Instead of making him a taxi driver, I'll make him, a reporter instead. I mean, like, this is funny. And it's by Marvel and the Daily Bugle. So,
Well, you see all the characters, all these characters when they have to have this different persona, they have to have someone who has who has the ability to bring in has the backing, who has the cash, the flow, that kind of scenario. Bruce
right,
Wayne, you got the millionaire on this one. He's now the Patches. I need someone who can work on the ground, someone who can just get
yeah,
who can mix into the crowd and just get the information I need and get out. No one realizing that I was just talking to this guy I met at a corner at the bar and not realizing I'm divulging information that I shouldn't. But you're a common Joe. I don't have to worry about you. You're not the feds. You're not the pig. You're not, you know what I mean? You're not an official person. I can tell you the secrets, not knowing. You just told a crime fighter
mhm.
what your next plan is.
Poems.
Foolish mortal.
Absolutely. Okay. So now with the Crimson Reporter,
Mm.
how would you want to see this one
Phantom
played out,
Reporter.
Larry? Phantom
The
Reporter. Sorry,
Phantom.
I'm still with the Crimson. I'm still with the Crimson Avenger. Sorry, Phantom
See
Reporter.
that.
So the Phantom Reporter. So here's my question. So was the Phantom Reporter at the Daily Bugle when J. Jonah Jameson was running it?
He was there in the 40s,
Right.
and then that would have been whoever preceded J. Jonah.
Oh wow.
I-
Okay.
That would
And
make sense.
then
now.
he recently got a job under Robbie Robertson at the Daily Bugle. Because
Watch things connecting. Watch things tying in now. Putting names that we know. We know Robbie.
Yeah.
We know Joe. Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. All right.
Touche.
All right. All right. Okay. Now the wheels are turning in my head. Wow. So once again, Daily Bugle is the ultimate Easter egg in this, how this would ever be adapted. I mean, you can't. That's right there. So he's established Daily Bugle, New York. Okay. Now what else is happening in that time period? You could get into some of the superhero stuff, but once again, let it be Easter eggs. If you remember, is it the Next Generation? I think I think that was what a comic was called. It was a 12-issue maxi series by John Bryan, and they actually did it backwards. From issue number 12 was the first one came out, and they went
Generation
backwards.
Lost.
Generation Lost. Thank you. That's it. You're right. And I think some of them, when they time traveled, were around that time, and that was I think they crisscross over. So it'd be cool to see them in the background as an Easter egg. But yeah, now do you have someone that would play this character? Because I have an idea. If we're going live,
Mm.
there's two people that are pouncing out of my head right now that I think would really fit it, and they've done like timepieces already. So I'm either gonna go, if I had to do this, I'm gonna go with Evner Gojka. Oh my God, Gjoka. Sorry, J. Yeah, that's his last name. So he played Daniel Sousa on Peggy Carter on the Disney series.
Good character.
Right. So he was one of the main characters, and he's got that square jaw. He's already done the timepiece. I think he would look good in the costume. That's what I see. The other character. The other character is the other actor is Kyle Bornheimer, and he played Ray Kabazinski in the same series. But no, his face is a little bit too round. I'm sticking with my first guy, Evner, right? Who played
I
Daniel
like
Sousa.
him, but I would go one of two ways, and mostly because of the way they act, not their look.
Yeah.
But one is Matthew Baumer.
Okay.
And the other one is the guy who played Jarvis in Peggy Carter.
Okay. James Darcy.
Yes.
It's because I have it still up here on my screen. So yeah, James Darcy, right. Edwin, yeah. All right. And he carried that role really well. Okay.
Either of
I would
those
actually
would be my
lean,
guys.
yeah, I would actually lean to James Darcy. Yeah. Yeah.
Rod,
Hey.
got an idea?
Listen, I'm just taking what you guys are saying. Like, yeah, I can't honestly. I'm just
Oh, yeah,
nicely well. I'm nicely
This
well.
guy has
what I'm
fire
hearing.
powers now, so
What's that?
That's right.
this guy has the power to cast fire now.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
He gets that.
superpower he inherited from one of the other characters.
right.
Well,
Okay. Interesting.
so
Nah, I'll be on the sidelines. I'll take in and add on to what you guys say. As we get to those normal moments on this part of the episode.
so those are the four that I want to
Mhm.
talk about.
Oh, this is good.
This is amazing. So we definitely are not have to. We will continue this because there's a lot more on this list we didn't even touch yet, but we have
Right.
to. And I want to make sure they get their moment to shine. And of course, it's always a pleasure having Larry on more often than not. So there we go. So before So any last words before we wrap up this episode, gentlemen? Larry is a guest, as a main man on this one. Any last words?
Hey guys, just keep reading and keep learning.
Ah, that's right. Knowledge is power. Rod, any last words? I gotta get myself.
Listen. Make sure you hit that follow button. You let people know. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit subscribe. We're here. We're having fun. Hope you're enjoying it as well. Because as you're hearing, we're here. We're like digging. We're digging into a lot of knowledge and some good stories and good characters. So tell a friend about it. Don't keep it to yourself.
Absolutely. That's right.
Somebody know.
Let somebody know. That's what I'm talking about, because let's put this way. Most of the time we talk on the show, we talk about what we know. But there's times on the show we have Larry on, but sometimes maybe other guests, and we don't know. We don't know. So this is a learning experience for us. It's a roundtable discussion. It's a learning experience for you, and we all enjoy. And we've heard about 4 great characters today, and there's like another 9 on the list. So we got a lot more to talk about. So please remember, like, subscribe, and share. Tune in. Check out the show. On behalf of Larry, myself, Barry, and Rod, this has been the iConis podcast. And remember, this whole world was started by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. We're out. And if you play that Justin Timberlake, their shirt and tie or suit and tie song in the background, put Jay-Z. Okay.
Damn.
Damn.